Hello my beautiful online babes and welcome back to my channel. So today I got my steaming hot coffee, I got my notes, and I am ready to do my little Big Brother Canada season 9 recap week 1. Alright guys, the hype was real. You saw my cast assessment. The hype was real online. People were stoked to see 14 new cast members. There was already drama right off the bat with Ethan getting kicked off for being a little prick. Boy bye. So the house guests have been in the house since the Saturday beforehand, meaning there was this huge stretch of, days that weren't televised or weren't on the feeds. So there's not a lot of backstory about the eviction other than what was shown on the episode on Thursday. But before we get to the eviction, let's quickly talk about the premiere episode. So the first episode on Wednesday was an hour long. I feel like a lot of the things they showed on the episode we already knew. I thought the premiere was overall okay. However, I think majority of us fans have already seen the cast bios. So half of this episode of just watching them all over again was kind of a letdown. I wanted to see, people interact. I wanted to see a little bit of a backstory because the house guests have already been in the house for quite a while, so they had footage that they could have included in the premiere. But again, it was super short. They went straight into the comp, and then that was pretty much it. And then the next day, which was Thursday, would have been an eviction. So they literally rushed them in, moved them in. The only footage we got was like the competition, and then there's someone going home the next day. It was super fast. I feel like the Canadian premiere would have benefited from an extra hour of footage. Like a 2-hour premiere would have been more ideal, considering last season got canceled and they had this whole intro, which was actually beautiful, by the way. They had a whole intro with graphics and narrative, like good production about COVID and about, last season and whatnot, which took a lot of time. So if you think about it, the episode literally had such a small portion where we just got to know the house guests or got to see them in action during the comp. So as for the captains, I was very surprised that Julie didn't get captain and that Tina got it. But then again, the support behind Tina, because she is from Newfoundland, I think that's what carried the vote and that's why she got it. So quite surprised that Julie wasn't up there. That probably would have changed a lot if Julie was a captain, obviously. However, it was Kiefer and Tina as your captains. It was funny too that Kiefer in the premiere asked for like an all boys versus all girls, and Tina just shut it down. She's just like, fuck no. Which is, yeah, that's so dumb. Like, why would you pit genders against each other? That's silly. Like, that's so mismatched, especially with the first comp where it was so physical. That would have been such a detriment. So good on Tina for saying no, honey. So as far as my thoughts on the teams, at first I was excited. However, I came to watch Classic Big Brother. I came to watch Classic Big Brother Canada, where it's every person for themselves, build alliances, but to be forced into 2 teams, it's pretty much Survivor. So it's Survivor in a house. The dynamic would have been cool. However, at what point will they merge? Will it be the jury that they merge? Also, in Survivor, I find tribes will typically keep the burlier guys to keep winning competitions and vote out weaker players. So if you're having a Survivor dynamic in Big Brother, guaranteed your like thinner, smaller petite players will kind of suffer the brunt of this twist because it's literally a Survivor thing. It's a Survivor twist. And I'll come back to this when we talk about the eviction because I feel this twist is what screwed a certain player over, unfortunately. Another note, Victoria is so funny. Victoria is hilarious. She's so extra. And Victoria, was the star of that first episode. You have to give it to her. She freaking was so smart to downplay her strength. I think that's what led her winning it for her team. Victoria pretended that she was struggling. The other team probably thought, we're not going to put slime in her bucket. Let's just focus on the strong people. And then in the end, she was the one that, you know, lasted the longest. Like, she's pretty strategic for someone who just appears to be all fun, bubbly, sparkles, you know. Like, Victoria is actually one of my favorites right now. Let's talk about the eviction. Let's talk about this Thursday episode. Let's talk about the eviction night. So this is where I feel we didn't get enough footage to know what was going on, because most of this second episode, episode 2, was really nice. We saw the house guests bonding. We saw the house guests talk about their backgrounds. We saw Julie talk about her journey as a trans female, which is so important. We saw LaToya talk about, you know, and come out about her bisexuality. We saw Brayden, you know, be sassy, and like Josh talk about his coming out. Like, it was such an important portion of the episode. It was beautiful to see. But then right after that, we kind of got rushed into the narrative of LaToya and Julie beefing, which was unfortunate because we didn't really see why LaToya had such a beef towards Julie, other than they just were personalities that would never get together. A few pointers from episode 2. Josh was the target, and I kind of expected Josh to be a target. He was like a lone wolf. He didn't fit in. Jed, LaToya, and Tashawn linking up, that was scary. That's a powerhouse trio right there. LaToya is very straightforward. She's a go-getter. She's kind of dangerous in this game, but also that can be a detriment. She could put a target on her back. But right now, the first week, she's clearly calling the shots, and the boys are just following suit. As for the dolls, Brayden, Julie, and Austin, super cute segment. That was so cute to see them like link up. Of course, did they pull through in the end? That was kind of disappointing that Austin and Brayden, you know, ended up voting who they voted for. Victoria is so funny. Victoria is like the light of the season for sure. Every time she's on camera, she's just like so bubbly and fun. She's definitely one of my favorites. She's fun to watch. So let's get to the game play. So there's a few scenes sprinkled about trying to narrate, you know, and lead into the eviction. So here we have a scene with Josh coming up to Julie, and Josh kind of warning Julie about a possible pretty boy group. Then there's another scene with Josh coming up to Julie, telling her that she might be in danger. So here you have Josh being a messenger to Julie. And then what does Julie do? Julie acts like a messenger and grabs a group of girls and tells them in the pantry, nonetheless, which is like not obvious at all. She tells these girls that freaking Josh is going around talking about an all-boys alliance, and you pick LaToya to be in that group. Obviously, LaToya is gonna stick up for her guys because she's in that alliance. Like, I think it was just very bad gameplay to not hold that information. I think Julie was kind of right to share the info. However, she went about it the wrong way. She wasn't as subtle. I think Julie went too hard, too soon, and too abrupt. With information in that Big Brother house, information is power. So she has information that LaToya is out to get her. LaToya is targeting Julie, and Josh confirmed that. I think Josh was the main target to begin with, but with him sharing, I think Josh was genuine in him trying to connect with Julie. I feel bad for Josh, because now I kind of see like Josh is kind of really sweet and like totally not what I expected from my cast assessment. But it sucks because Julie goes, you know, yes, queers need to stick together. And then what does Julie do? She turns it around and like bashes Josh to the other team or the other guys and goes against the queers. So I feel for her, but I feel like she should have kept the information that Josh gave her. So yeah, I think how she went about the information must have been a detriment, because LaToya was already doubting Julie. She already knew they were going to clash. She already had an idea that Julie was not going to, you know, keep information. And what does Julie do? Julie proves LaToya right, which then made LaToya really push to evict Julie. I think that was just a shitty situation that was mishandled. And it proved to another house guest why you should be targeted, and that sucks. So let's come to the eviction. So in the eviction, it was like full-on tribal council, like, which was weird to be in to watch the Big Brother house be in like full tribal council mode. You have the two groups. During the question portion, however, you could already tell that Julie was reserved about going home. It was kind of very telling based on the answers. Like the way Josh and Rohan answered just made it seem like they were safe already. And with LaToya just being so abrupt and like, yep, I said your name, bye. It was obvious that like, okay, I think Julie is in danger, which sucks. In the beginning, I didn't think I would like Josh, but now that he's like a lone wolf in the house and kind of backed in a corner, I'm kind of rooting for him a little bit. Hopefully he can turn things around. Hopefully he stays. My thing is, I think people will still keep Josh because he might be weaker and easier to beat, and I hope he takes advantage of that by using it to take out stronger players, like keep me, but then let's target the big guns like Jedson, Tashawn, LaToya, Kyle. Otherwise, we're just gonna have a blowout season all over where the youngins and the strong people stick together, and you have your outsiders getting voted out. Like, I hate to say it, Kiefer, Victoria, Josh, they're easy picks, and we don't want that. We don't want a season that is just one-sided. I do find the Survivor twist really fucked up Julie's game because it put her in a very vulnerable situation, a vulnerable spot where her strength was gonna be judged. Like, this is not fucking Survivor, this is Big Brother, and all of a sudden you're like trying to keep your tribe safe because Julie's not physically fit compared to the other teammates, you're gonna target her. Like, that's silly. I think that twist really fucked up Julie's game. It sucks. I wanted her to like make it to the end. It sucks to see Julie go so early. It really does. She didn't get to play for veto, which is kind of shit. Like, you joined Big Brother to be able to fight for your place and also keep yourself safe. So that's so shitty that she wasn't able to play for veto. I wish what the producers did was give us a 2-hour premiere where we got to see more backstory as to why LaToya was beefing with Julie, why she was after her from the get-go. I wish we saw gameplay and dynamic as to where people fell in terms of who to target and whose names were brought up, because we saw footage of Josh going to Julie, giving Julie information, but it seemed like Josh already knew that Julie was the target at that point. Yeah. I wish this twist would end sooner because I just want to watch classic Big Brother. I don't want to watch a Survivor dynamic where people just keep staying safe because their team just keeps winning. Okay guys, that is my week 1 recap for Big Brother Canada season 9. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave me a comment. Also, if you haven't followed me on social media, I will link those down below. I have Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, OnlyFans. That's right, I create OnlyFans content, and I will link those down below. Thank you guys for tuning in to the week 1 Big Brother Canada 9 recap. I will see you in the next week's video. Stay safe. I'll see you soon.